Morning, guys. It's about 9:16. No, I don't have to work today like I didn't have to work yesterday nor tomorrow. And right about now, my bus that would be picking me up is coming around the corner and getting ready to, go that way in a moment. If it's not blocked off by anything. But anyway, the reason I wanted to come on here real quickly is I want to talk about some news that Dave Meltzer and some other sources, whether you believe them or you don't, especially after what's happened this past week with the whole false news of, WWE selling to, the PFI of Saudi Arabia, which thankfully, in the eyes of many fans, was not true. But apparently, according to Meltzer and these other sources, again, depending on whether you believe them or not, or you take it with a grain of salt or not, Nick Khan, the new CEO, the guy that was co-CEO with Stephanie before she resigned, according to Dave Meltzer, is meeting, I don't know if it's as of today or it's going to be soon, I don't know, but Dave Meltzer has reported, along with some other sources, that Nick Khan is meeting with the Disney CEO, that's Bob Iger, and the president of ESPN. Now, we don't know who the president of ESPN is. It could be Bob. I don't think so. Because that'd be too much with Bob Iger, especially since he's come back to basically clean up the mess that Bob Chapek left behind. But anyway, yeah, Iger is the CEO of Disney. And again, I don't know who the person that's the president of ESPN is, but Nick Khan apparently is meeting with them today or sometime very soon this week, maybe this weekend, I'm not really sure. And, we have no idea whether or not this is about facilitating the sale of WWE to Disney, maybe with ESPN being the primary owner under the Disney umbrella, because that can happen. In other words, Disney could basically help buy the company because, they own ESPN, but it would be under the ESPN license. In other words, anytime, Raw or SmackDown would sign off, in the future, it would say WWE copyright ESPN networks or something like that. Anyway, that's what's going on right now. Now, again, we're not, like I said, I'm not too sure if this is to facilitate a deal or at least, get the process rolling since Disney is one of the contenders to potentially, buy the company, or if it's for something else, because Nick Khan could probably be meeting with Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, and the ESPN president, maybe to do some collaborative work, like collaborative work on documentaries and stuff like that, or behind the scenes shows and things like that. So it could be that. We're not really sure. It could be that. Or it could be, like I said, to help maybe start the process to facilitate a sale to Disney with the provision that it would be under the ESPN license. Like I said, in other words, for an example, when they sign off, as I mentioned, instead of saying copyright the Disney company, instead it would say copyright ESPN. And I also want to bring this up. As well. Like I said, before I get into this, all we know is Nick Khan is meeting, according to Dave Meltzer and other sources, whether you believe them or you don't, especially after this past 24, 48 hours. Nick Khan, according to Meltzer and these other sources, is meeting with Disney CEO Bob Iger and the president of ESPN. What that's going to pertain to, we don't know, but the first thing in a lot of people's mind would be the potential sale of the company to the Disney corporation. But in a unique way that would allow ESPN to pretty much be like the owner of WWE and not primarily Disney or something like that. That's the way I look at it. But, I also want to address this too. because I know there's a lot of people concerned, a lot of people worried about Disney. You see, when they heard about the possibility of a Saudi deal, yeah, that made the whole internet flip its lid. To the point that a lot of people were actually glad an uproar took place, so that way it would get the attention, possibly very soon, if not already, of WWE and make them realize, yeah, the Saudi deal may not be a good direction to go. It may not be a good direction to go. But the other one they kind of worried about a little bit is Disney. Because, of course, Disney being the home of Mickey Mouse, if you will, they're kind of worried what Disney would do. Now, I will say this. It all depends on the leadership. That is a fact. We do know that when Chapek was, the CEO, he was running things, things changed. Some for the better, most for the worst. Some things were, cut, like theme park wise and everything. Some things were changed for the better when it came to, let's say, the streaming service. But again, he did more worse in the eyes of a lot of folks, even those at Disney, than Iger ever could. So Iger obviously brought back to clean up the mess and potentially find a successor that would be worthy to take his spot in the next few years and have an understanding of how the company should be run, exactly basically the same way he was running it before he had to step down or he retired. As far as Disney goes, though, depending on who's running it as the CEO, I want you to think about this. Disney owns plenty of properties, right? Plenty of other studios and everything, right? From Lucasfilms to 20th Century Fox, which is now 20th Century Studios. Marvel Studios, they own them. And there's some other properties they own as well. They own Touchstone, technically. They still own that. And the reason I bring up all these other places, all these other studios and entities that they own under their watch, including ESPN, the whole family of ESPN networks, and ABC, by the way, the reason I bring all this up is because of the fact that Disney has been primarily been looked at as someone that just leaves well enough alone. Yeah. Disney will basically buy the Here's the thing. Disney will spend the money to buy the property to make it part of their conglomerate, the ever-growing portfolio. But they will mainly leave it as it is. And if anything does come up that might be, let's say, a little offensive or a little bit too much for even Disney, yeah, that's when they'll step in and say something. But Disney mainly, like I said, has primarily been hands-off with a lot of the properties that they've owned. Again, it all depends on leadership and all that, but they've been primarily hands-off. I mean, I'll give you a good example. When Bob Chapek was running things, all that freedom that the Marvel creators, the people behind the Marvel movies and shows and all that had, as well as other, writers and creators of other, movies and shows from Disney and Pixar, you name it, all of those freedoms were taken away. Bob Iger comes back, and those freedoms are reinstated. You see what I'm saying? It all depends on leadership. And mostly Iger, when a lot of these deals were made, was CEO before Chapek. And Iger's basically, hands-off, is a hands-off kind of person. He's like, look, do what you got to do to make money. Just don't cross the line that we may have to step in and clean up. And that's about it. So I look at the fact that if WWE gets bought by Disney, and this is what Nick Khan has meeting with, Bob Iger for, as well as the president of ESPN for, if they get bought by Disney in a unique deal that not only puts them under the portfolio or makes them a part of the Walt Disney family, but mainly makes it look like ESPN is running things, ESPN's their boss, the owners and all that, then I don't think we really have much to worry about. Yes, would that make things, like from a Raw and SmackDown and NXT perspective, a little different? Yes, it would. Because Raw could end up on ESPN. NXT could be on ESPN Plus or ESPN2 or ESPNU. We don't know. SmackDown could be on ABC, or they too could be on ESPN. We don't know. Or ESPN could broker a deal with Fox to keep it on there. We're not really sure. WWE Network, of course, would probably get moved over and be part of Hulu. Or, ESPN, part of the deal, could say, hey, we'll make WWE Network part of our family, and it could have its own channel on cable, 24/7 WWE on cable, once again. You just flip to a channel like you do on Pluto TV right now, and you have a wrestling channel, it's nonstop wrestling. There you go. That could happen too. We're not entirely sure. Again, whatever Nick Khan, according to Meltzer and other sources, whether you believe him or not, whatever his reasoning for meeting with the Disney CEO and the ESPN president is, whether it is to start brokering a deal for a sale, or it's to do something more collaborative, like new documentaries on wrestlers, on promotions, territories, or or whatever, if you will, or behind the scenes stuff. Like, let's say AEW is planning to do that behind the scenes, a reality show kind of thing. Who's to know? Maybe this is a deal that's going to bring the Roads to the Top show over to ESPN. We don't know. It's a possibility. We do not know. Again, right now, all we know is he's there to meet with them. And that's about it. Whether or not it facilitates a deal for a sale of the company to them with a unique provision that ESPN would be like the primary owners, along with Disney, and Disney would basically be like, what they're doing now currently, just be hands off, or is it about doing some collaborative work on documentaries, or even, bringing in a show like Roads to the Top, which was on TNT for a while, over to ESPN. Who knows? But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the whole situation right now with Nick Khan meeting with the CEO of Disney and ESPN president? What do you think will come out of it? And do you think Disney will, as they've done with a lot of the properties they own now, depending on the leadership, be primarily hands off? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, guys. Love to hear from each and every one of you. Support me all at Venmo, at Brian-Roma-2, and Cash App at BWRoses98. But yeah, give me your thoughts, guys, on this whole situation, and I am out.